Welcome back to Vinyl Friday, where I go through my records and I talk about why I love them. And love them I do. March, happily, is International Women's History Month, so I've chosen an album that celebrates women's history. When I was at university, I took a general education course in popular music, and that is where I first came across Joan Armatrading. She was being used by my lecturer as an exemplar of what happens to pop music artists when they refuse to conform to the strict standards of the pop music industry. And consequently, while I have loved Joan fondly since then, it's been coupled with this kind of sadness and pity that she never made it. But in putting this episode together, I have come to the realization that success, or rather, it strengthened my resolve, that success doesn't necessarily mean dominating the charts. I now think that Joan Armatrading actually has had an incredibly illustrious career, and we're about to find out why. The album that we're listening to today is her eponymous 1976 album, Joan Armatrading, and it sounds like this.
You know how it is. Still on crying when you get yourself together. Don't you want to put yourself to right? I said, to make someone with the wine. Throw me a lifeline, save me. Join Jack and the boys being a band doing a one-night stand. We've been scheming, that's people cheating. I'm walking.
I don't have a big detailed narrative about the making of this album because the critically acclaimed, amazing BBC documentary from 2019 all about Joan Armatrading and her life and her career and her music is unavailable anywhere. So instead, I'm going to hit you with a wave of Joan facts. Here we go. So Joan was born in the Caribbean. She was child 3 of 6. And when she was around 3 years old, her parents took her 2 older brothers and moved to Birmingham, and she was left with her grandmother in Antigua, where she was raised for like another 4 years, and then went to join her family in Birmingham, which I think would have been really strange. Like, do you even remember what your parents are like if you're 7 and you last saw them when you were 3? I don't know. This fact is to establish that she had kind of an unusual upbringing. Her father had been in a band, but he had forbidden his children to touch his guitar. I assume that that's not because he had had some sort of traumatic music-related incident in his past, but rather because he had 6 children and was worried that they would destroy it. Nonetheless, Joan started writing music on an old piano that they had when she was around 14 years old, and her mother ended up buying her a guitar at a pawn shop in exchange for 2 perambulators and £3. Joan Armatrading had to leave school at 15 to support her family, because there were a lot of children in the family, remember? But she lost her first job as a typist because she kept bringing her guitar to work and playing it during the breaks. I got sick of it and kicked her out. This fact is to demonstrate her innate, irrepressible attraction to music. Outside of her musical career, Joan studied for about 5 years and was awarded a Bachelor of Arts at the Open University in the early 2000s. I think that's right. Editor Nancy's going to tell you the exact date because I can't remember it right now. In any case, she's now a trustee of the Open University. That fact was to let you know that she is plucky and lion-hearted. It's at this time that I'm going to take a quick pause to re-elevate my hair. It's shrunk a little bit. Deflated. In 1968, she joined a touring production of Hair. I don't know in what capacity, I cannot find that on the internet, but I'm telling you this because I love Hair, and because it bolsters her coolness in my eyes, and hopefully yours too. She put out her debut album in 1972, and on her second album, Back to the Night, fantastic album, you should definitely check that out, she credited the woman who was cooking for everybody on the team while they were recording the album. And while that's not explicitly relevant in the context of today's episode, I do love when an artist makes room for the so-called less important people on the team, especially when you consider the sort of hubris and overweening nature of acts like Led Zeppelin around 1975. She has consistently released critically revered albums throughout her career, like into her 50s, her 60s, her 70s. And this is fairly unusual in the pop music industry, especially given that a lot of those albums were actually independent releases. She was released from her major label contract in 2003, and although she did re-sign with BMG in 2018, as far as I can surmise, she released independently throughout that period. Cool. So cool. She wrote the music for an all-female production of The Tempest in 2016.
4 fathom 5, thy father lies.
In 2022, she composed a symphony.
She told us she hadn't felt daunted writing a classical piece. She just sat down one day and started.
Her most recent album came out in November, like 3 months ago, and she's 73 years old. Or was at the time. She's now 74. She's recorded most of her albums since 1986 in her home studio, which honestly is the dream, and she was a guest at Charles's coronation, which again is a fairly irrelevant nugget, but it does demonstrate how important she is to the establishment, or well regarded she is by the establishment. So, of minor relevance. And here's the last of the Joan facts. Here we go, deep breath. Joan was nominated for 3 Grammy Awards and for 2 Brit Awards. She has honorary degrees from the following: Liverpool John Moores University, the University of Birmingham, the University of Northampton, Aston University, the Scottish Royal Academy of Music and Drama, and also she has an honorary doctorate from the University of St Andrews. She's an honorary fellow of Newman College at Cambridge. She has numerous Lifetime Achievement Awards, and she has an MBE and a CBE. All of this is to say that my lecturer, all those years ago, was way off base. Joan Armatrading's career is nothing short of inspirational, and I have the utmost regard for this miraculous human being. Now we're gonna listen to her music. Now somebody actually requested that I do an episode on Joan Armatrading in the comment section of the Carole King Tapestry episode. And the truth is that Joan Armatrading, the eponymous album of 1976, was one of my first Vinyl Friday episodes. But as that episode was about 5 minutes long and looked like this, and we're gonna drop right now, I feel like it deserved to go over. So first things first, this album was produced by Glyn Johns, who was producer during the recording of the Get Back sessions by the Beatles. Will it, Beatles? Say it with me, kids. Yes, it will! The song that we're going to be listening to today was actually a top 10 hit. It is Love and Affection.
I am not in love.
This song is so cool. I was taking my notes while listening to this song, and I was just like, wow, this is going to be such a great episode to record. And here we are. So far, it already is a great episode to record. I hope it is also a great episode to watch. Also, the piano correspondent is going to have an absolute field day today because this song is rife with some of the juiciest chords in music. From the opening chord on this track, Joan Armatrading, as the Australians would say, is not here to f*** spiders.
I am not in love.
It is also one hell of an opening lyric. Joan Armatrading is an artist who perfectly, immaculately pairs her lyrics and her music, as we're about to find out, as we've already seen. In this case, both the music and the lyrics are subversive. Like, this is a love song that opens with the line, I am not in love, but basically I could be talked into it, you know. The singer of the song is ready and willing to be wooed. As for the chords, also subversive. Piano correspondent is going to tell us why. Ooh, boy, am I excited for this one. It's a little bit tricky to pick out the chords, especially the opening chords for this one, because there are what sound like 2 guitars doing different things at the same time. But I think what they're doing is something like this. So that's the first chord. Like, what is that? That's gorgeous. And it's followed by this. That's the I am not in love. That's those 2 chords. But I'm open to persuasion. So when she sings, I am open to persuasion, the chords also open up. They become much clearer, much lighter, much prettier, like her defenses are down. I'm not in love, but I'm open to persuasion. And the thing is, Joan Armatrading is fully self-taught, which means that she just has this incredible innate musicality and a healthy sense of what sounds good. The structure of this verse is also unconventional. This is not a 4-chord loop. There are many chords, not much repetition, and it really takes its time getting to the home chord. That's the home key, E major. We are not yet ready to return to that home key. We're gonna go on a little journey first. Here are all the chords that we have to get through before we get back to the home key. Yeah. We're teasing the chorus. We're not ready to go to the chorus yet. We've got a whole other verse to get through. Each of those chords is deliberately and meticulously selected. It's like artisanal chordsmithing, you know? It's so juicy. So to recapitulate, the opening line introduces us to her position and her intent. She is not currently in love, but she is ready and willing to be seduced. The rest of the song, from this point forward, feels like the experience of being courted, both as she tells it and as we listen to it. It's like she brings us along on this ride. There's this lyrical setup throughout the verses. With a friend I can blah.
With a friend I can smile,
But with a lover I can blah.
but with a lover I could hold my head back. Really laugh.
And that but with a lover part of the setup takes us back to the home chord. That's where we find it. This is where the point of the song resides. This is what we're here for. We are about to be seduced. And it's the same in her vocal delivery, right? With a friend, I could smile. It's kind of hesitant, very light. But with a lover, the voice takes on a bit more confidence.
But with a lover I could hold my head back. Really laugh.
It goes from like cautious and whispered to like coy, flirtatious. The production on this album has just terrific attention to detail. For example, verse 2 is a little bit heavier. We've got our rhythm section coming in. But before that happens,
Really laugh.
it's like our breath catches. And then we're into the second verse. Things are a little bit heavier now. Getting a little more serious. This is a song of very slow and very intense build-up. The singer and the listener are both being gently persuaded to drop our defenses and yield to some lovin'. I mean, we're taken dancing.
Across the floor, cheek to cheek.
Verse 1 has some exciting chords, as we've established. Verse 2 introduces a bass part, and the bass part makes those chords just a little bit spicier. Doesn't always do what you're expecting it to do, which is basically the thesis of this whole song. Actually, no, the thesis of this song is sex, but we're getting to that, okay? Slow build up. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And the bass changes what the chords feel like. The first two are pretty much the same. But then we go here. Now we're really hinting at the chorus. We're really starting to move towards chorus town. But while the chorus chords are going to do something more like... the bass is just going to stay on the E at the moment. We're not quite there yet. So it sounds a little bit different. It does this. We're just hanging out on the E in the bass there, which is out of frame. I'm terribly sorry. Please trust me. It's an E. Also, the guitar arrangement on this is beautiful. She often played 12-string ovations.
But with a lover I could really move. I could really dance.
I'm not sure if she's playing a 12-string on this. It could be two guitars playing very similar but not quite the same things simultaneously. You can hear it especially in the beginning. if you'd care to go back in time with me somewhat.
I am not in love.
See, they're not doing the same thing. So maybe it's 2 6 strings. I don't know. She's not telling me. As we approach the first chorus, we have to cross a bridge. I mean that as a loose musical term, but also a little bit more literally than that.
Why can't I feel?
God, that's a stunning chord change. I want the piano correspondent to tell us about that chord change in particular. And these are sort of approximations of the chords that we've been working on so far, but it's a slightly different direction. If I can feel the sun in my eyes and the rain on my face, it's that beautiful chord again. Why can't I feel minor chord? Here we go. Wait for it. The most exciting chord change in the song. What? That is insane. But it gets us to here. How does it get us to here? Well, musically speaking, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense, but she somehow makes it work. I think the melody ties it together. Why can't I feel? This is a critical juncture in the song. This is a moment of reticence. Will she or won't she? She will. Now we're ready to dive into the chorus fully. She said yes, and we surrender ourselves to the pulsating waves of this first chorus. These chords pull us in, and they push us back, and they pull us in, and they push us back. And this is what the anchor means about pulling in and pushing away. This pulls in, come in, return to home. Come in, return to home. It is dynamic. This is not a static part of the song. It moves you back and forth and back and forth. And it's rhythmic, and we're backed by these warm guttural strings. Ugh. You know what I'm intimating. We don't need to spell it out. She makes it explicit in the lyrics. No conversation, no waving goodnight. Just make love with affection. Chorus 1 is only a taster. There is one more moment of musical deliberation in this song. And this time, there is this ascending, increasingly feverish string part.
With friends I still feel so insecure.
It builds, and it builds, until it reaches this peak.
No conversation, no way goodnight.
This is what the strings and the bass and the guitar and everything are doing as she's figuring out where she's gonna go. Is she going to? Isn't she going to? This is the biggest point of tension in the song. And these are the chords that make it happen. That sets us up perfectly for what? The chorus.
No, just make love with affection.
I can't tell you how much fun that is to play. And there's still this tension, like there is no snare hit at this point in the song. We haven't had the drums really break out. It's just a hi-hat, and we've got some cymbals in there as well, but there's no thwack, propelling the song. It's just this tension, man, this tension, this unfulfilled frustration maybe. It doesn't feel like frustration, but definitely we haven't reached a point of fulfillment yet. And again, the lyrics match at this point perfectly. The singer has successfully been seduced. Listen, just take my hand.
Leave me where you will.
That's enthusiastic consent at its best, folks. That's a yes. The lyrics and the verses are poetic and pensive, but the chorus is primal. The verses are your rationalizing superego, and your choruses are unbridled id. Whereas the song opens with this, I'm open to persuasion. The chorus is, woohoo, also more explicit. Just make love with
affection.
And more demanding, more confident.
Sing me another love song.
But this time with a little dedication. Sing it, sing it.
Sing it, sing it.
And that backing vocal, that response, feels almost like panting. I love that line so much. One of my best friends and I just adore this album and this song in particular. As a present to him years ago, I made this lino cut print of that line in the song, the sing it, love the little dedication, sing it. Anyway, it looks like this. In the verses, the lyrics kind of meander gently. They sort of wander around. At the chorus, the lyrics turn Joan Armatrading's voice into a totally separate percussion instrument.
But this time with a little dedication, sing it.
So as the lyrics go from quite complicated, quite pensive, multifaceted, nuanced, to these like primal urges set to music, the chords do a similar thing. The verse is full of these like upper extensions, jazzy chords, especially that one I showed earlier, this one. Really complex. But the chorus, it's really not that complex. It's basically 1, 4, 1, 4. Like there are passing chords like this one. But this and this, simple, straightforward, primal. It's time for a sexy sax solo. And with that, we dive into the final chorus. And this time we do get our damn snare.
Sing me another love song, but this time with a little dedication.
We've got our full snare hits. We've also got saxophone fills. We've got bluesy string licks. It's all on in this chorus. Everything's happening all at once.
With affection.
Ah, catch that string riff right there. It's heavier, it's dirtier. Everything's happening in this chorus. And then we are left with this 4-note loop that fades out. It's like we've been left feeling dizzy and we're trying to catch our breaths. Now tell me this woman isn't a genius. And that's it for me. If you enjoyed this episode or you would like to support any of the weird things that I do, I will leave a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page where you are most welcome to make a donation if you wish. No pressure, friends. Also, I still actually have the original lino cut that I did for this song. So for my buddy, shout out if you're watching, you know who you are. But yeah, I was thinking of firing off a few, except on white paper instead of brown paper, because the brown paper is really just old shopping bags. But yeah, if you are also a lover of Joan Armatrading, try again. But if you are also someone who loves Joan Armatrading, I think I'm going to put up a few of these A4 prints. Just a couple of little posters. So, you know, if you want to buy one, I'll check them off the old Buy Me a Coffee page. So, yeah, I might do like 3 or 4. If you're curious about what any of my original music sounds like, I will leave a link in the description to that as well. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you here next week. Have a great weekend! I hope this shirt isn't too much pattern. Can you guys stop fighting, please? Cats. Come on here, stay up. Be jolly. But in putting this episode to... Where's that other chorus? No. I'm looking forward to not being in the middle of summer when I'm filming. Irrepressible attraction.
Sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it.
And was a roar... Oh, blah. Blah. In this case, both the music and the chord... No, in this case, that is the same thing. It's a moment of reticence. Here we go again. I don't know what it is with that word.
Sing it, sing it. You know that's what I...
Tiny spider. What are you doing in the video? That is a hearty... Nah. I don't want to complete that sentence. I won't! BVs are calling and responding and... Thanks for hanging out with me. Whoa.